let's do some technical stuff today. Let's talk a little bit about the technical side of game development because I saw this comment from an audience member and I thought it was very interesting. The conversation as to whether Xbox game studios are able to do multi-plat development or not spawned from this MBG's video where he was, saying, one of the things he heard or we've heard, I don't know where we heard it from, because I haven't heard anything like that, is that these developers, as they're, the reason they're not porting their games to PlayStation is because they don't have the resources. Basically insinuating that if they could, they would. Not necessarily acknowledging that it's because Xbox actually wants for them to actually prioritize, in some cases, their Xbox development, and in some other cases, developing cross-platform. Now, the counter to that argument, and I already put it in that video to debunk it, is that if you look at Xbox developers, before they were acquired by Xbox, they were all doing multi-platform developers under Bethesda, under Activision, and so on and so forth. So it's hard to make that claim that they don't have the resources to do so. And it's also much harder to think that Microsoft is not going to allocate resources. Why? It has the money to do so. If it wanted simultaneous development, it would have it. And it does have it. It's going to get it in Outer Worlds 2, even though Avowed is a, solo in terms of the console platform game build. Indiana Jones currently is on Xbox and PC and will go to PlayStation later. And then it's getting Doom the Dark Ages as a multi-platform launch same day. So that argument doesn't hold any water. I thought, even with all of this, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and actually point out a few things that is missing from the conversation from the technical piece. Number one, when you develop a game, you develop it on a PC. You then make your modifications to put it on your, development kit for the console or the platform you're developing for, be it a Nintendo Switch, Xbox, development kit, Series S, Series X, and even a PlayStation. In fact, a regular Xbox console, Xbox One, Series S, and X, is actually a development kit. That's why you have developer mode on your Xbox console. You pay $20, it lets you go on the back end. Via developer mode, you can get the API of the engine that you're using, if it's Unreal Engine, if it's CryEngine, or whatever, and install on a traditional Xbox, like I bought it from Walmart for $4.99 or Game Pass console, and test out your game right there on the spot. Does that make sense? So that's how easy it is for you to basically get your console development going when you have your tools in place. But the crazy thing is that particular build of the game is on the PC. So you can actually test out that game, play the game on the PC while you're developing it. So the conversation about exclusivity time, like an audience member of ours brought up, where they said, the reason that, you're going to see something like this is because it's faster to develop for a single platform, because the time it takes for Xbox or Microsoft decision on if the game will stay exclusive, and then the time to port it to other platforms is the exclusivity time, is not entirely always the case. You have a point. I'm not saying you don't, but it's not always entirely the case. Let me show you a very good example. Final Fantasy 16. You guys want to see this? This is actually pretty interesting. The Awakening trailer for Final Fantasy 16 for PlayStation 5 that was actually dropped 4 years ago has a very interesting notification at the beginning. I'll click play. You'll see the ESRB rating. You see the PlayStation logo, and then you see this little small font thing that says, the following content is captured on PC emulating the PS5 experience. Do you see this? The game was already built and was already basically functional on a PC or whatever build they had at the time. Let's put it that way. Whatever build they had at the time to use for marketing was captured on a PC that emulated the PS5 experience. If I were to break this down to technical speak, it meant this, that they basically took that game, they pretty much took the settings that they were going to port the game for the PS5 to, and then they captured their footage on PC. So by the time they were launching the PS5 version, a PC build was already available. Now, as to the optimization of that build and so on and so forth, that's a whole different conversation, right? So when they did the delay for PC 6 months later, do you think they spent 6 months optimizing the game? You think they only needed 6 months to optimize the game? And then when the game came out anyways, it was a stutter fest, had its own performance challenges and issues, right? So the talk about the game development side of things, even on PlayStation and Xbox side, you can do simultaneous development for at least two platforms. bare minimum. And if you're a AAA publisher, AAA studio, you already have a pipeline to basically get all platforms, maybe except Nintendo Switch, already completed by the time your launch is there. In fact, we can look at some really prolific games that have really, really good performance right now, to go ahead and say, okay, how are these studios being able to pull stuff up, off like this when it comes to it? Well, what they'll do is they'll pick their target machine. Let's look at Kingdom Come Deliverance Part 1. Let me go ahead and plug in a controller here. This is the first time I've ever launched this game. I heard about the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 performance, but I would like to play Part 1 first before I go ahead and buy the second game. Right? Hold on. Is the audio on? I don't want you to pick up all that desktop audio. Okay. Right? So this game, this is the opening scene. I'm skipping this. I'm going to go back and, take my time and cook on this. Right? So they'll pick their target hardware, and then the target hardware is going to pretty much drive how they develop the game, and then they scale up from there. So they'll take a PC. They can take a PC, and they can say, okay, this game must be playable on this hardware specifications because it matches with the PlayStation 5 and it matches with the, Xbox Series X, or is lower than the PS5. It's actually slower, cannot play as good, and we can target those, we can target those settings. Man, this PlayStation controller doesn't work for a lick on this stuff. Let me use the mouse. We can take those settings and we can go ahead and see what's going on. Let's go to the graphics settings. 1440 high. Is there a highest? Very high, ultra high. Okay. I mean, I think this is just the settings that it picked off. Show FPS on. Oh, it has an FPS counter. VSync off. FOVs at 65. I like big FOVs, which 70 is the best you can get. Confirm. And then let's go and look at the advanced graphics settings. High, back. Is there a benchmark tool? There's no benchmark tool, so we're going to have to jump into it, okay, to be able to see what's going on. And I heard that this game works just so well. Back, game settings, back. Let's start new game. I heard that this game performs so well for its second iteration that people were talking about how the game could play on a GTX 1060. So these developers, they pick their target hardware to be very low. So the game comes out, the bar that they set for themselves to be able to meet was a very low bar, and that's not a bad thing in today's, conversations, right? So once they launch their game, once they hit any hardware that was already bigger, let me escape, right? Any hardware that was already better than the GTX 1060 or whatever it is, or whatever their minimum requirements may have been here, already did them a favor. Okay? So 70 FPS, chat. I want to get into the game. So I'm just gonna, don't worry guys, I'm gonna play the game properly. All right, go get father. No, I haven't seen him this morning. 87 FPS, 1440p. I'll leave it be mother. Whatever. End dialogue. Let me leave here. Okay. So 60 FPS, 1440p. Can I leave the house? Is she gonna? Oh, she's gonna open the door. All right. I'm indoors. Let me get outside so we can actually test. Look at the frame time. The frame time. Oh, this chick locked me inside. Oh, mom. Sorry. This mom. So now we're out in the open world and we're doing 15, 16 milliseconds, 70 FPS. You can tell, well, grass textures are nice. They're nice looking. Dandelion, I can get a dandelion. Go into a cutscene. Look at that graph on the top left corner, that little, squiggly thing. You see it? There are some spikes, but when the spikes hit, they go down immediately depending on what's loading in front of me. So this right here already shows you that these developers can actually make their games, to run very well and to do very good performance at the end of the day. And so if studios of this caliber, okay, can actually pull this off, then to be very honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm shocked and surprised when people would say that, these bigger studios need more time or whatever the heck it is. No, what they need is a more realistic picture on what it is that they can do. Right? And so development at the end of the day, as a technical expertise, is something that we're seeing a big, huge challenge in today's, market. I also think, it's probably, because of the movement of developers across the industry. There's so many developers now, And so many developers are probably just moving and leaving their development work that they already kicked off or started, right? And they're moving over to other studios. So developers are trying to fill the void. Oh, how are we going to get more developers to do this? So these ebbs and flows probably cause dents in development time as well. People moving, different jobs and all of this stuff. So you can chalk it up to just the development teams or the publishers, in a sense, doing what they feel is best for their studios or what they think is going to work out for them. But I don't think it's the, it's a matter of, wanting or a matter of resources as a whole. You can always manage your resources very well, especially if you're a console developer and you're already doing your development on PC. Because you can basically take your budget, you have your budget ahead of time. That's the beauty of it that many people don't really talk about. I've only heard, Eastern European developers or some other developers in Europe talk about the budget of the hardware. Because the hardware is already giving you everything you need. Oh, you only get 8 gigs of VRAM or, a total of 10 gigs of, unified VRAM or shared memory. You have everything already given to you before you even start your development or while you're in the middle of development so that you can be making amends or making, tweaks. Because any hardware that goes up from there anyways is new and possibly better hardware. So you basically target that low-end, piece of junk crap hardware and I say that in quotes, that's, the lowest common denominator. Let's see what Kingdom Come Deliverance Part 1 is asking in terms of hardware. Let me see. The second game is right here, which is the newer one. Let's see what the hardware target is. They're asking for AMD Ryzen 5 2600. But still, though, the game itself was shown to be playing on a GTX 1060 and giving 30-ish plus FPS. The minimum requirements. A Ryzen 5 2600 and i5 8400. Oh, a GTX 1060. Oh, there we go. That's why I was playing on a 1060. So they basically just kept things very similar. If we go back and look at Warhorse Studios and look at the first game, which is Kingdom Come Deliverance Part 1, which is the one I just showed you, its minimum requirements probably will be surprising to you, asking for way less, actually. i5 2500K and a GTX 660. So basically, a 1060 was OP for it, and they just basically built up from there, from the recommended requirements, and then they locked it in to maybe the highest, hardware that they felt, okay, a 4070. I'm sure they picked the 4070, the Ryzen 7 4070, where they could basically say, okay, this is where you get the best experience at 4K, possibly. So you just run with that. But everything in between these can already play their game. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about that in this video. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch it. Again, like I said, it's one of those technical pieces where, it's throwaway at the end of the day because, we're gamers, but it's nice for us to be able to get a sense of, how these games are made and what these developers are probably prioritizing as they're making their games. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.